Hello and welcome to this special Palm Sunday episode. And I'm sitting here in the garden because there's a palm tree next to me. It's a bit spiky, but yeah, I have a random palm tree in my garden. I didn't plant it, previous owners did, but there you go. It's handy for days like today. So we are going to take a look this week at Jesus' last week from the Bible, from the book of Matthew. And I really hope that we can really get into the kind of like the mindset of what it's like to be there, to be with Jesus, what he had to say, the important things that Jesus had to say and do during his final week on earth. Because we're looking forward to Good Friday on Friday and then Easter Sunday on Sunday. And so today is Palm Sunday, so let's start with that. And I'm really excited about this, and hopefully that you will come on this journey with me. And so let's start by reading Matthew 21. Matthew 21 is where it starts. So here it is, and here's what it says. You've probably heard this loads before. Okay, this is what it says. As they approached Jerusalem and came to Bethphage on the Mount of Olives, Jesus said to his 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and at once you will find a donkey tied there, by her colt with her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, say that the Lord needs them, and he will send them right away." This took place to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet. Say to daughter Zion, "See, your king comes to you, gentle and riding on a donkey, and on the colt, the foal of a donkey." The disciples went and did as Jesus had instructed them. They brought the donkey and the colt and placed their cloaks on them for Jesus to sit on. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, while others cut branches from the trees and spread them out on the road. The crowds that went ahead of them and those that followed shouted, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest heaven!" When Jesus entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred and asked, "Who is this?" The crowds answered, "This is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee." And so we've heard this passage loads of times probably, and you're really familiar with it. But what's its significance? Why did Jesus come into Jerusalem like this? What's its significance? And I really wanted to kind of really delve into that today. And the key is that quote from Zechariah chapter 9, the quote that says, "Say to daughter Zion, see your king comes to you, gentle and riding on a donkey, and on a colt, the foal of a donkey." That's the key. So let's go to Zechariah. So if I just turn to Zechariah, this is the context of it. So in the Old Testament, which is where Zechariah is, the God's people, God has made a covenant with his people. He has made blessings and promises to his people, if only they would keep their side of the covenant. But the problem is, the people, God's people, didn't keep their side of the covenant. They never did. And so God punished them, and then he blessed them again. And this cycle kept going. So he blessed them by making them come back to him. So he reminded them of his covenant, and then they broke it. And so he punished them. And then he reminded them of the covenant. And they came back to him, but they broke it again. And so this cycle continues. But just before the verse that Jesus mentions, or that Matthew mentions, this is what it says in Zechariah 9, verse 8. This is what it says. This is what God says about this cycle. "Never again will an oppressor overrun my people, for now I am keeping watch." So he says, I'm going to put an end to this cycle. I'm going to do something new and put an end to this cycle. Never again will some people, an oppressor, overrun my people, for now I am keeping watch. He's going to do something new. And straight after he says, "I am keeping watch," then it says, the verse that Jesus that is quoted in Matthew, says, "Rejoice greatly, daughter Zion, shout, daughter Jerusalem, see, your king comes to you, righteous and victorious, lowly and riding on a donkey, on the colt, a foal of a donkey." And so, after God says, I am keeping watch, then he says, your king is coming to you. And so with hindsight, we can know that this is God himself coming to us. God himself, in the person of Jesus, comes, and he comes to change things and to end the cycle and to bring in a new covenant, something new. And he comes, this king who comes, is not a king who will lord it over all people and just shout at commands. This is someone who is lowly and gentle. Someone who is humble enough to come riding on a donkey. Not a horse, not a big stallion, but a donkey. And this is Jesus. He is the king of the universe. He is God himself. But he comes riding on a donkey. And then in the verse after, in Zechariah 9 verse 10, he says, he will proclaim peace to the nations. His rule will extend from sea to sea and from the river to the ends of the earth. Jesus' kingdom is a global kingdom. A global kingdom that we can be part of. A global kingdom of peace. And then in the next verse after that, he reminds, God says, as for you, because of my covenant with you. God says, I have a covenant with you. Referring to the covenant, the blood of the covenant with the lambs. The lambs that we particularly see on Passover. Do you remember the lamb that had to be slain and the blood on the door frames? Of course, this is the Old Testament meaning, but we know that the New Testament meaning is coming. So back to Matthew 21. The King is coming. The King who is bringing something new is coming, and here he is riding into Jerusalem on a donkey. God is going to break this cycle and bring in something new, and a covenant. We can't keep any kind of covenant, but God can. And he's going to keep both sides of the covenant this time with the new covenant. And you see how people reacted to me? They put palm branches down and they say, Hosanna! Hosanna to the Son of David. They kind of partially get it. They partially get it. Because they didn't have the hindsight like we do. We have the hindsight. And I love this verse 10. So Matthew 21 verse 10, it says, the whole city was stirred. Now I read somewhere that there was probably about 2.5 million people in Jerusalem at the time for Passover. 2.5 million people in Jerusalem. Now the world back then, the population of the world was far less. And so to have 2.5 million people was crazy. This is a lot of people. And it says the whole city was stirred. The whole city. All the kind of, if there was Facebook and Twitter, it would have been all over the social medias, saying, who is this? Who is this person? Who is this man who's just come on? Who is this king? Who is this son of David? And people say, this is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth. It's like saying, hey, they're from up north then. They're from up north. Can anything good come from up north? Surely this is just a person. But we know this is not just any person. This is Jesus, a king. And he comes to bring God to us in a new way. And this is just such exciting news. This is going to be a relationship with God that we can't mess up. A covenant that we can't break because God keeps both sides. And that is what's special about Palm Sunday. Well, very happy Palm Sunday to you all, and I hope that you're having good weekends, that you're enjoying some sunshine, but in the proper way, and I really, really hope and want to encourage you to obey the authorities. Remember, we did a couple of days ago, obey the authorities, because God has put them there. So let's be good citizens, let's work as a community to keep everyone safe, and I will see you next episode. Bye bye for now.